Magandang araw bayan. Welcome po sa ating weekly economic forum. And at this point, we'll be joining by our guests from the Department of Finance, Yusek Mark Hoven, Yusek Bayani Agabin, and of course, ASEC Tony Lambino. So may we hear first from ASEC Lambino. Good morning.
Salamat, Peng. Magandang umaga po at welcome muli sa ating weekly economic press briefing co-hosted by the Economic Development Cluster and the PCOO. Ngayong linggo po ay kasama natin sina DOF Undersecretary for Legal Affairs, Bayani Agabin, at Undersecretary for International Finance, Mark Dennis Hoven, upang talakayin ang mga issue tungkol sa ating mga loan agreements, kasama po ang mga napagkasunduan natin sa iba't ibang bansa at partikular ang China. Nais ko pong ibigay ang hapag kay Yusek Bayani para sa ilang mahalagang update.
Thank you, ASEC Tony. Before I start, I'll go through the general points that we want to make, and then Yusek Mark will discuss the specifics of the loans. But I have a statement. Ang lupain, kagubatan, at iba pang likas na yaman ng Pilipinas ay nauuri bilang public asset. Maliban na lamang kung mayroong batas o opisyal na pahayag laban dito. Hindi po ito maaring angkinin basta-basta ng sinumang dayuhan o foreign entity. May mga pangambang kumakalat na ang Reed Bank o Recto Bank ay maaaring angkinin ng mga ibang bansa kung sakaling ang Pilipinas ay hindi makabayad ng kanyang mga utang. Nais po namin linawin na ang ating mga loan agreements, kasama na po dito ang ating mga loan sa China, ay hindi naglalaman ng ganitong probisyon. Walang anumang collateral na nagdudulot ng pagsuko ng ating teritoryo at na isinama ang gobyerno. Sang-ayon sa pahayag ni Senior Associate Justice Carpio, kung ang langis o gas na posibleng umanong matagpuan sa ilalim ng Reed Bank ay maaring i-classify bilang patrimonial property at maging bahagi ng arbitral award sa napaka-remote na possibility na mangyari na hindi tayo makabayad ng utang, ay walang magiging pagkakaiba ito kung ang Pilipinas ay magbayad sa ating mga kinauutangan gamit ang cash o ang cash na makukuha pagbenta ng langis na makukuha sa Reed Bank. Bukod pa rito, anumang desisyon ng arbitral tribunal ay kinakailangang dalhin ng counterparty sa isang hukuman sa Pilipinas upang mabigyan ng bisa ito. Ito yung tinatawag na enforcement of an arbitral award. Sa ganitong paraan, tayo ay mananatiling protektado mula sa posibilidad ng anumang hindi patas na pagtrato sa arbitration. Second point, ang waiver of sovereign immunity ay hindi nagpapahintulot sa sinumang dayuhan o foreign party na kunin o angkinin ang ating mga likas na yaman. Ibig sabihin lamang nito ay pinahihintulutan ang mga counterparty ng Pilipinas sa isang kasunduan na dalhin sa korte ang kaso kung umabot man na ang Pilipinas ay hindi makabayad sa utang nito. Ang waiver of sovereign immunity kasama ang arbitration clause ay standard o karaniwan pong isinasama sa mga kasunduang may kinalaman ang Estado. Ang Pilipinas, as bilang isang Estado, ay mayroong tinatawag na sovereign immunity. Sa isang loan agreement, karaniwan na isinasama ang waiver of immunity sa negosasyon ng mga nagpapautang upang magkaroon sila ng kapasidad na dalhin ang Pilipinas sa arbitration sa matinding kaso na hindi nito kayang bayaran ng utang. Bukod pa rito, meron na pong desisyon ng ating Supreme Court na and I'll quote, an agreement to submit any dispute to arbitration may be considered as an implicit waiver to immunity from suit. Ibig sabihin, ipinaubaya na ng Pilipinas ang kanyang sovereign immunity tuwing sumasang-ayon ito sa arbitration. Nakasadman ito ng malinaw o hindi sa isang kasunduan. Third point, ang mga ruling o desisyon mula sa arbitration ay napapailalim o hindi maaring mangibabaw sa ating konstitusyon at sa sistema ng hukuman ng Pilipinas. Kasama ang arbitration clause sa negosasyon ng bawat loan agreement. Sinisigurado natin na ang mga probisyon na ukol dito tulad ng arbitration mechanism ay hindi lamang katanggap-tanggap sa magkabilang partido, kundi dapat ay nagpoprotekta rin sa interes ng Pilipinas. Sa Chico River Pump Irrigation Project, nakasaad sa kasunduan na kung sakaling hindi na makabayad ng utang ang Pilipinas, which again is very remote, ay dapat maunang ayusin ang anumang problema sa labas ng arbitration. Kung hindi ito malutas ng outside of arbitration, tulad ng friendly negotiations, ay saka lamang po magsisimula ang proseso ng arbitration. Bagamat ang lokasyon ng posibleng arbitral court ng Chico River Pump Irrigation Project ay nasa Beijing, aabot po sa 350 arbitrators ang maaring pagpilian ng Pilipinas at China. Nagmumula sila sa Europe, US, Latin America, at iba pang mga bansa ng Asia tulad ng Singapore. Kung magsimula man ang proseso ng arbitration, tayo po ay unang pipili ng arbitrator mula sa nabanggit na listahan ng mga international arbitrators, habang ang China naman ay pipili ng pangalawa. Sabay namang pagpipilian ng dalawang bansa ang magiging chair nito. Ibig sabihin, we get to choose one, the other party gets to choose another arbitrator, and the two arbitrators chosen will choose a common arbitrator. Karaniwang nagiging resulta ng arbitration ng isang staggered payment schedule. If worst comes to worst at hindi maganda ang resulta ng arbitral tribunal, inuulit po namin na kailangan pa rin dalhin ng counterclaimant ang desisyon sa korte ng Pilipinas. Usually, it's the Regional Trial Court, upang magpatibay ng arbitral award. Ito po ang proseso na tinatawag natin ng enforcement of arbitral award. The arbitral decision they have to bring to file to court to recognize the arbitral award and to enforce it. Patungkol naman po sa pagpili ng Chinese laws as the governing law, ipapakita po ni Yusek Mark mamaya na ito po ay karaniwan ng isinasama ng mga bansang nagpapautang. Di po lamang China, but you'll see later, also with respect to other countries. The fourth and last point is that mariing inuulit ng Department of Finance na responsable ang pamamahala ng gobyerno sa mga utang ng Pilipinas, maging panloob man ito o panlabas. Lahat ng mga nabanggit na probisyon sa loan agreement ay mangyayari lamang kung ang gobyerno ng Pilipinas ay hindi na makabayad ng utang nito. Maging ang ilan sa ating mga mambabatas ay nagpahayag na malabong mangyari ang sitwasyon na ito dahil may provision tayo sa batas, it's PD 1177, na otomatikong naglalaan ng pambayad ng utang na nakapaloob po ito sa taunang General Appropriations Act. Meaning all our indebtedness, it's automatically appropriated in our budget. Hinahamon po ng Department of Finance ang mga kritiko na tignan at pag-aralan ang credit history ng Pilipinas. If you will look at it, we've never had a history where we reneged on our obligations, even during the most difficult times. Maging ang datos at impormasyon patungkol sa fiscal situation ng bansa. Paulit-ulit po itong tinatalakay ng DOF sa mga budget hearings sa Kongreso noon at maaring ma-access muli ng publiko ang mga impormasyong ito gamit ang website ng Bureau of Treasury. Hinihikayat din po natin sila na kumonsulta sa mga eksperto bago tumungo sa konklusyon na ang Pilipinas ay tunay ng namimiligro mahulog sa isang tinatawag nilang debt trap. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Yusek Bayani. Para po sa isang comparative presentation ng ating mga loan agreements, narito po si Yusek Mark Hoven.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Let me first present to you the slide regarding the choice of governing law. So if we note all our bilateral agreements with China, Japan, Korea, France, and with China under previous administrations, all of them have a choice of governing law provisions. And all of these choice of governing law provisions refer to the law of the lender, not the law of the borrower. What does that mean? It means that kung nangungutang tayo ng pera for a particular project from another country, ang ginagamit po natin ay yung batas nila as far as substantive aspects of the loans are concerned. So practical lang po ito. Kung nangutang tayo, kung assuming hindi ho tayo bansa, tao po tayo, private citizens, kung mangungutang po tayo, the lender, yung nagpapautang sa atin, should be given some opportunity to collect the loans from us. Because if we rely on on our own if we rely on our own law or borrower's law, then there would be a lot of avenue for us not to pay the loan we owe. And we as Filipinos are not like that. Ang Pilipino ay nagbabayad po ng utang. So as said by Undersecretary Bayani. Next, we go to the slides on the rates. So initially, there were some concerns about the rates raised for this China project, which is flat at 2%. So if we compare the rates provided by China Exim for the Kaliwa Dam project, it's at 2% in US dollar terms. So previously, there were some concerns raised about the rates provided by Japan or Korea, which were not in US dollar terms. They were based in Japanese yen and Korean won respectively. So to have an apples to apples comparison, we need to swap these rates to US dollar rates. So we can see from the slide that the Chinese rate of 2% is better than the Japanese rate of around 2.7% swap to US dollars, or a little worse than the Korean rate swap at swap from won to US dollars, which is at 1.36%. If we compare it to the French rate, the difference is quite big, comparing our 2% Chinese rate to a French rate of 3.60+%. And even if we compare it to the old Chinese rate, which was present in the Angat water project, our rate of 2% for the Kaliwa and Chico River projects were effectively at a 30% discount from the old rate of 3% for the Angat water project. So I think this should dispel the notion that the rates provided by China are not concessional. So now we go to the next slide. So we go to the concern about arbitration. So we can note from basically from this slide that for China, for all our China bilateral contracts, we've either chosen to hold arbitration either in Hong Kong or Beijing. So previously, in previous administrations, I think they used the CTAC as its place of arbitration in Beijing. So for this this administration, for our Chinese projects, so for the Chico River, we chose CTAC, which is similar to the Angat Water project, which was signed during the GMA administration. And for the Kaliwa Dam project, we shifted to Hong Kong International Arbitration Center. It's if we go back in even earlier bilateral agreements with China, we've also had some opportunity to use the HKIA as our arbitration center. So we need to compare this with all our other partners. All of our bilateral partners, China, Japan, Korea, France, all of them have arbitration clauses. As explained by Undersecretary Bayani, this is effectively an implicit waiver of sovereign immunity. So with or without the Chinese provision on sovereign immunity, there is already a waiver of sovereign immunity. This is according to our Supreme Court. Next slide. So to quote, because I think there's some confusion regarding the quoted portion going around. So we quoted in verbatim the exact provisions for the Chico River project. So if you will note, or the exact provision basically says that we only waive sovereign immunity only insofar as the arbitration proceedings and the enforcement of arbitral award. So we do not waive sovereign immunity if it does not relate to the arbitral proceedings or the award of or the arbitral award. So we also need to note that comparing the China provision with the French provision, which was signed during the Aquino administration, the wording is identical. So in that Cebu BRT project, there was also a waiver of sovereign immunity provision as far as arbitration is concerned. But then, we also need to consider the last point, which is enforcement. So regardless of whether we waive sovereign immunity insofar as arbitration proceedings are concerned, we still need to go to a Philippine court to enforce the arbitral award. So some critics might say that, what's the sense of enforcing it in the Philippines, but when your governing law is Chinese law? That is not true. Please show that, basically the next slide shows the Chico River loan agreement. It basically says that if the arbitral award is arrived through by collusion or through fraud, or is based on a mistake of fact or of law, or is contrary to the public policy of the Republic of the Philippines, then it can never be enforced. So that's the limitation to the waiver of sovereign immunity. Okay. So next slide. So actually, we posted this picture. This is basically the inauguration of the Angat Water Project. Project was signed during the last year of President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo and inaugurated or opened during the term of President Aquino. This is, if I'm going to quote Rappler, this is a good example of success in bilateral cooperation between China and the Philippines. So you had a project, you had a $116 million project, which was signed and carried out and did not require arbitration. So right now we're paying for the loan, and that project is currently online and benefiting the public. So we hope that such agreements will be a standard with regard to China. So thank you.
Maraming salamat po. Pang-recap lang po sa mga nabanggit ni na Yusek Bayani at Yusek Mark. Ang mga sinasabing kontrobersyal na section sa loan agreements ay standard provisions at nakita po natin ito sa comparative presentation ng iba't ibang loan agreement ni Yusek Mark. Pangalawa, ang waiver of sovereign immunity ay parang lamang sa arbitration and the enforcement of arbitration. Meron pong limitasyon ang waiver of sovereign immunity natin. Pangatlo, ang mga rulings o desisyon mula sa arbitration ay kailangan pa pong dalhin sa korte ng Pilipinas for enforcement. At pang-apat, responsable ang pamamahala ng gobyerno sa mga utang ng Pilipinas, maging panloob man po ito o panlabas na utang. Yun po yung aming presentasyon tungkol sa loan agreements mula sa iba't ibang bansa at sana po ay naliwanagan ang marami pong nagtatanong tungkol sa mga issue na ito. Maraming salamat po. Hi, Yusek Rocky.
Good afternoon. Good morning, MPC. Questions? May tanong ba tayo? Ina? Microphone, please.
This was discussed by Yusek Bayani. You mentioned that, again, we're not talking about any collateral that may lead to us surrendering any of our territory, but medyo technical lang po kasi yung pag-explain ni Yusek kanina. So, what do you mean dito sa 8.1 provision niya na sinasite doon sa enforcement? So when we enforce whatever arbitral ruling, just simply put, what asset could we end up giving in enforcement? Kasi in that same provision, doon po naka-mention yung patrimonial assets, which is what is being debated.
So first, let's differentiate between collateral and enforcement. Okay, collateral is, when you want to take out a loan and the borrower wants security for payment of the loan. Usually, private example, you want to borrow for your business. Banks will require you to put up collateral. Yan yung i-mortgage ninyo, real properties, movable assets. So the collateral is agreed upon by the parties at the start of the loan. Okay. The loans we have, regardless of which country, the Philippines does not offer any collateral. Okay. So that's collateral. Now enforcement, it means that you've gone through arbitration, you've lost already, and there's a judgment in favor of the counterparty. Now, to be able to enforce, can you flash the 8.1 ba yun nandun? Okay. To be able to enforce, there's still some things that they have to do. So they may have judgment in their favor. It doesn't mean, that they'll come in and say that I want this, I want that. There is a process to do that. They have to go to court and have the arbitral award recognized. Okay? And of course, as explained by Yusek Mark, there are still defenses available for the creditor. No? If it's obtained through fraud, if it's by mistake of fact, you can still put up that defense. Okay? And what happens is if assuming the court recognizes the arbitral award as valid, then they will move for enforcement of the award. And in that case, the creditor will have now the choice of, okay, so we recognize it as a valid arbitral decision, and the creditor can very well say, okay, we will pay it. Okay, and they do not even have to go after assets of the government held in its patrimonial property. Now, the question relating to patrimonial property and public use. Our civil code, we have the Regalian Doctrine. Everything is owned by the state. Okay, unless the government decides that it's no longer for public purpose and it will be devoted for commercial use. There has to be a declaration to that effect before they can go after that. Okay? And that will only happen if we refuse to pay. Now, if government, despite the recognition by the court that it's a valid arbitral award, and we still refuse to pay, then they can get that and look for patrimonial properties. And ano ba example ng patrimonial property?
Sir, but you said, so of course, if the enforcement is valid, so we will say, as you mentioned, that we will pay, but we won't reach arbitration if we were able to pay.
Yes. And as I pointed out previously, foreign loans, automatic appropriation yan under
So what
PDLS.
will we use to pay doon sa enforcement? Yeah, that's basically it. What can we dispose of at that when we reach that point of arbitration?
No, we'll have to source it from funds that we have. Okay? And generally, how does government raise funds? They issue bonds, or they take out loans, or they raise, or they get it out of taxes.
What you're saying, there's no property, land, area,
Okay.
or what?
Na hindi pa pwede, that they can go after. No, land they cannot because, in our constitution...
I mean, dito na yung patrimonial assets,
okay.
rather.
No, there may be some shares which government owns in some private corporation. Maybe, So maybe they can go after that. But again, let me stress on that's very remote because of the automatic appropriation under PD 1177. And again, yun nga, sabi ni Yusek Mark, if you look at our history, it never happened. Even during the most difficult times, we've recognized our loans and we've paid for it.
Lastly, sir, dun sa Reed Bank being kung ano ba, patrimonial or not, Associate Justice Carpio said or is now citing a 1972 law which he says already declared Reed Bank as a patrimonial asset. What's your take on that?
I'll ask Yusek Mark to reply to that.
Actually, if you read PD 87, basically it grants the president the power to grant oil concessions to a private party or a consortium of private party. So for Reed Bank, my understanding is the concession was already granted by the government to an existing consortium. So with that, I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible technically for the Chinese government to enforce an arbitral award in its favor by proceeding for or by getting that particular concession, that Reed Bank or Recto Bank concession.
And we need to differentiate between Reed Bank and the concession to go after oil or gas, no? Or to harvest oil or gas. It was never Justice Carpio's statement that Reed Bank is patrimonial property. I think it's very clear from his statements that he's talking about the oil and the gas, and a lot of confusion there's a lot of confusion that has come about from that confusion. I'm sorry, from that lack of differentiation. Yeah.
Okay, Cedric Castillo, GMA 7.
Hey, Sir Bayani. Sir, good morning po. Sir, na-mention nyo kanina, if we still refuse to pay, doon palang papasok yung sa issue ng patrimonial assets. Ibig sabihin po ba, sir, in the extreme situation, discretion ng Pilipinas kung ibabayad yun, hindi China or hindi foreign country ang kukuha nun sa atin. Ganun po ba ibig sabihin nun, sir?
To some extent, yes. Yes. Because when you get a judgment against you, then your option is okay. So let's pay. Let's look for funds to pay for it. Okay. So you always have that decision.
Can
Yes, sir.
I add? So, assuming the government does not want to pay, let's say, to enforce, to do a transaction similar to a Dashon and Pago, the government still needs to agree to give property, patrimonial property, in exchange for a monetary debt.
So para sir, when all else fails, yung bansa ang magde-decide kung gusto nila ibayad yon.
Yes.
Not the
Not the counterparty. Yes.
Sir, sir, kasi sinasabi niyo po, standard naman ito eh. Yung mga examples niyo kanina, previous administrations, may China deals, may French deals. Why do you think this is being questioned now, sir?
Why?
Why do you think this is being criticized now?
It's better to ask those who are questioning, I think.
Okay, RJ, and then Pia.
Sir, we're talking about the patrimonial assets. In terms of definition, for example, papasok na tayo dun sa arbitration sa Beijing. Kaninong batas? How do we define patrimonial assets? Kaninong batas natin titingnan ito?
Do I answer? Okay. So, once you deal with the patrimonial assets, what assets to enforce it against, then you need to deal with not 8.1 but Article 8.6 of the contract, which deals with enforcement. So you need to meet all those conditions. If you look, they refer not to Chinese law but to Philippine law. So the question is, to what does Chinese law govern? Basically, it deals with the loan itself and not the enforcement of the payment of the loan.
All right, thank you.
Pia.
And so the question is addressed to anyone who could answer, sir. Kasi the critics have always been citing the examples of Sri Lanka and Kenya as a warning against the Philippines taking out Chinese loans. Could you please explain to us, sir, how different were the terms of these loans compared to the loans that have been taken out by the Philippine government? And could you tell us why that could not happen to the Philippines?
Okay. For Kenya, I'm not sure, but for Sri Lanka, more or less, my understanding is you're referring to a total China debt portfolio of $8 billion. And that particular project, which was subject of a management takeover or subject of a management takeover clause, is a $1 billion project. Imagine Sri Lanka as a country has a debt to GDP of around 80%. As opposed to Philippines, which has a debt to GDP, half of the debt to GDP of Bangladesh. So, in terms of likelihood, basically, Sri Lanka, basically, yung Philippines is, in terms of all countries in the world, I think we're at around top 40 of the most debt-solvent countries in the world. Bangladesh is at a lower end of that spectrum. So, in terms of possibility of failure to pay or over leverage, it's very, very unlikely. Well, unless of course we really bloat it. But if you look, according to a recent statement which we received, I think the perception is total China debt exposure will become 12 billion to 24 billion US dollars. So it's not true. Right now, what we have is a total exposure of around 260 or 270 million dollars.
Sir, could you explain more yung example ng Sri Lanka? So it's not for one particular loan contract only, but for the total debt nila that they have with China, tama po ba?
I don't think it's a loan. I think it's a joint venture. So basically, Sri Lankan company, Chinese company enter into building a port and managing it. So it's similar to a sort of like a PPP in our country's case. So basically, it says in their contract that if the money received from that project supposedly is not enough to pay for the amortization of the Chinese debt by that consortium, then the Chinese group can exercise management powers over the entire joint venture. So that's clearly different from our example, right?
So in short, sir, it is very wrong for the critics to compare the stories of Kenya, the stories of Sri Lanka to the Philippines.
But of course, we understand. We're very well aware of what's happening in the world, and we will not. We're fiscally responsible enough not to do something which will endanger the fiscal position of our country.
So what will happen? So what happened to other countries will not happen to the Philippines.
Yes, actually, even an article by Forbes says that.
Thank you, sir.
Just to recap on the percentage of our project debt exposure to China, it's 0.66% of total debt at end of 2018. And just to compare, our total project debt exposure to Japan is 8.9% as of end of 2018 of our total debt. So the numbers medyo magkalayo talaga.
Okay. Rosalie Cos, UNTV.
Good afternoon po. Kahit sino po ang sumagot. Meron po kasi nagpapalutang na meron daw pong mga provision sa loan agreement na sadya pong, although sinabi na po ng Palas at sinabi nyo na it's impossible for us not to pay the loan, meron daw pong mga provision sa kontrata na disenyo para ma-default at hindi makabayad ng utang ang Pilipinas. So is that, ano po ang explanation nyo doon? At possible nga bang gumawa ng paraan ang China para kahit gusto nating makabayad ng utang, para ma-default po tayo?
Ganito na lang po. Yung number one, all of our provisions in our loan agreement with China Exim are standard agreements. So they're present in the case of Japan, Korea, France, and most of them, with some minor modifications, are also present in our loan agreements with the ADB and the World Bank. So one of the salient provisions of all these loan agreements is a pari passu or cross default provision. What does that mean? It means that pag nag-default tayo sa isa, technically we will default on all. So now the question is, would you default on a small loan, say 200 million, para mag-default ka on all your other loans?
Doon po sa question na pwedeng gumawa ng paraan ng China para, kumbaga, sabihin nila na hindi tayo makabayad ng utang, harangin or i-manipulate yung, for example, may mga ganun po kasing reports na lumalabas.
Balik ko na.
Okay.
Ulitin ko lang po yung sinabi ni Yusek Mark kanina. Any arbitral decision, if we even come to that, has to gain enforcement. It has to gain the ability to be enforced through a Philippine court. No, so, meron ho tayong protection pagdating dyan. Even though the possibility of an arbitration is remote, let's say, hypothetically, umabot nga tayo doon, ay hindi po yan enforceable on its own. Kailangan po dumaan sa sistema ng Korte ng Pilipinas.
MPC, RJ, and then Ina.
Sir, sa arbitration ulit, in case halimbawa nanalo ang China sa arbitration and let's say a Philippine court will say the ruling cannot be enforced in the Philippines, so how sure are we na susundin yon ng China?
China agreed to it eh.
Mhm.
So it's in the loan agreement eh. We showed to you that particular provision in the loan agreement. So I guess we rely on the good faith of China to comply with the provisions of a loan agreement which they signed.
Kasi kilala po natin ang China, it cannot even follow the Hague's Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling on the West Philippine Sea. So, where do
Yeah.
we get our trust?
Okay, so let's not, ako as a person, I cannot rely on trust alone, of course. We need to look at the law and the enforceability of such a move. So now, the only way for the Chinese government to recover Philippine properties located in the Philippines is to go through Philippine courts, right? So if it cannot go through Philippine courts, then how can it, or if it opts not to go through Philippine courts, then how can it get Philippine properties?
Patrimonial.
Patrimonial Philippine properties.
We don't look at the West Philippine Sea right now as a militarized area where it can be possible that China will enforce what it wants.
I think those questions should be directed to the Department of National Defense and our security agencies. They are much more well-versed in those issues.
But for now, we fully trust China, right, sir? In this case,
We fully
contracts.
trust China to comply with a loan agreement which they signed. In the same way as they trust us to comply with a loan agreement which we signed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Ina, then Cedric.
I'm not actually sure if you would know the answer to this, but since we touched on oil in Reed Bank earlier, meron na pong joint venture earlier approved, but a moratorium was issued. Afterwards, I was wondering if you guys have any update on the status on that.
We'll get back to you on that, Ina.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Cedric.
Sir, specific po sa Chico River Pump Irrigation Project, sa loan agreement with China, kung ibang bansa po ang nagpa-loan sa atin for the same project, would we have the same loan agreement, verbatim?
Same provision?
Yes, sir.
Actually, we have with France, the Cebu BRT project.
Yes, sir.
It's
Okay.
it's exactly the same provision.
Okay. Sir, kung sa Chico River po ang project na pinag-uusapan natin at ibang bansa, it would be the same provision, sir.
Yeah, actually, yun na nga sinasabi ko nga ho, in a previous loan agreement which we signed with France, there is an exactly the same, there's an identical provision there. Similar, identical to that 8.2, say, Article 8.1 of the Chico River Loan Agreement.
Okay, sir. Sir, let me rephrase po yung question ko kanina, sir. Kung ibang bansa po ang may agreement tayo dito sa specific project po, Chico River Pump Irrigation Project, do you think it will be criticized? Kung ibang bansa yung ka-deal natin dito.
So now you go to the trust issue, right?
You think, sir, it will be criticized? Say it would be Japan or anything? ADB, World Bank?
As you Tony said, why don't you ask the Kwan?
Those who are
Those
criticizing.
who are, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, MPC questions? Bernadette Nicolas.
Ay, sir, kahit sino po pwedeng sumagot. Sir, just to clarify, yung sinasabi niyo po na Philippine laws po yung mag-a-apply dito sa arbitral award po, tama po, di ba?
Enforcement of arbitral.
Yeah, pero ang governing law po kasi under 8.4, yung provision po is the Chinese law po, sir. So, dun po sa provision ng waiver of immunity, ano pong batas ang mag-a-apply? Philippine law or Chinese law? Because some are saying that maybe sa Philippine laws po, wala po tayong gini-give up. Pero, paano po kung sa Chinese law po, iba po yung definition nila ng patrimonial asset? So, how do we reconcile this
So,
statements po?
yung issue nung patrimonial or non-patrimonial asset, ultimately, it goes into enforcement kung paano babayaran. So, yung issue of paano babayaran is explicitly defined under Philippine law. So, under Article 8.6 of the Chico River Project, basically, the Philippine government and the Chinese government agreed that if it's against the public policy of the Philippines, then it cannot be enforced.
So are we standing by the statement that ang masusunod po sa definition ng patrimonial asset ay Philippine law po?
Yes, because of that particular provision, which we're highlighting.
Kahit na ang nakalagay sa 8.4 ay ang governing law ay Chinese law.
As I said earlier, yung governing law relates to the loan agreement. Kung magkano yung utang, paano mo babayaran yung utang. Pero assuming na nagkaroon na ng dispute or controversy na dumaan sa arbitration, you need to go to Philippine law to seek your answers. You cannot rely on Chinese law, especially in the definition of what is a government asset or what is a public asset.
Sir, last na lang po. Yung waiver of immunity provision daw po ay wala po sa agreements, sa loan agreements po natin with Japan or Korea po or the World Bank po. Is this
Yes.
true po?
Yes, except that according to a decision by our Supreme Court, what case is that? It's the China National Machinery and Engineering Corporation versus Santa Maria. It's a 2012 decision by the Supreme Court. Basically, it says that if you have an arbitral clause, which we have in Japan, Korea, and France, it's an implied waiver of immunity. So essentially, everything is the same for all of them.
So basically, there's nothing alarming about the difference na walang waiver of immunity provision dito sa other loan agreements po natin with other countries or multilateral lender banks po.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, sorry, just to emphasize again pala, yung nakalimutan ko sabihin. Yung sa France, may exactly the same wording for our agreement with France. So, totoo, tama ho, na walang explicit provision na ganyan doon sa Japanese loan agreement at Korean loan agreement. But by virtue of that decision by our Supreme Court, it's effectively the same. There's already an implied waiver of sovereign immunity by virtue of the arbitration clause present in the Japanese contract and the Korean contract.
Sir, last na lang pala. Napansin ko po doon sa presentation natin na may difference po ng arbitration venue po doon po sa Kaliwa Dam Loan Agreement at saka Chico River. Yes. Kaliwa Dam po sa Hong Kong International Arbitration Center, while doon sa Chico River po China International Economic Trade Arbitration Commission po. Why the difference in the arbitration venues po?
Okay, so each negotiation is separate. You come in, you negotiate each separate contract. So depending on who the parties on the other side are and depending who the parties on our side are, basically those are the not standard provision. You have a standard arbitration clause for all, but nagbabago ho kayo dun sa kung hanggang saan yung tolerance nyo for this and hanggang saan yung tolerance nila for this. So we need to factor that in.
But sir, hindi na lang po parehohin po. Yung
yun na nga po
arbitration venue.
because basically each is a negotiation. You don't basically you're given the leeway to ito yung ano, tas tayo basically sabihin na ayaw namin ng ganyan. And you must note, so I must emphasize also that hindi po to specific only with China projects. Even in our France project, I think it says there that the venue is ICC in Paris.
Okay.
So,
sige sir, thank
Okay,
you po.
mag-last question na tayo kay RJ. Okay, RJ. And then Ace?
Sir, yung confidentiality clauses of agreements, nandun po yun, right? So, siguro kaya siya kini-criticize maraming haka-haka. It's because hindi nila nakikita yung dokumento.
Actually, sir, precisely because we wanted to comply with the non-confidentiality provision or non-confidentiality clauses. That's why we posted all the relevant agreements in the DOF website.
Ang negotiation po kasi nag-uumpisa sa standard template. The Chinese standard template for loan agreements includes a confidentiality clause. The negotiation resulted in subjecting the confidentiality clause to the laws of the Philippines. The laws of the Philippines, in fact, the Constitution of the Philippines requires disclosure of loan agreements, which is why we were able to disclose the loan agreements through the DOF website since last week, no? Middle of last week.
Is it the entire document?
Yes, the entire document is online for your reading pleasure.
And all Chinese agreements are there?
The agreements signed by this administration are all online.
All right, thank you.
Okay, MPC, may tanong. Ace. Ace Romero.
So for the record na lang po, kasi lahat ng mga isyong to nagsimula dun sa possibility nga ng arbitration, lahat ng mga fears, ng mga concerns dahil dun sa possible arbitration. So for the record, how would you describe yung possibility na magkaroon tayo ng arbitration? in a few words.
No, just look at our credit history. We've never reneged on our obligations. We've always paid for it.
So how would you describe nga yung possibility na magkakaroon ng arbitration in relation to that project?
Ano, what's a good one? What's a good word?
It's never happened before, and it's highly unlikely
Highly unlikely.
to ever happen. Yeah, because again, the Philippine law requires automatic appropriation for our debt obligations.
Okay, salamat po.
Okay, questions? MPC Christine? Okay, Christine.
I just saw this post by Jay Batong Bakal. He has 2 questions about the loan
Hi, Jay.
agreements. No, I just saw sa Facebook eh. Okay, the number one question, sabi niya, why is that agreements with Japan, Korea, and World Bank are simply entitled loan agreement, while those with China are entitled preferential buyer's credit loan agreement? Is China buying ahead of anyone else?
I think that's a joke. By the way, hi Jay. Anyway,
Sorry.
yeah, I know. Anyway, the preferential buyer's credit facility is a credit facility granted by the China Exim Bank. It's basically similar to a checking account, or it's a product which grants a concessionary rate. So they just call it that.
Next question. Sabi niya, why is that agreements with Japan, Korea, and World Bank explicitly and specifically require compliance with environmental impact assessments and social acceptability requirements, or ensure environmental and social safeguards or compliance with anti-corruption guidelines, while those in China do not? Instead, they only require some generic compliance with required permits and authorizations.
Essentially, they're the same thing. These Chinese projects requires ECC clearance, basically which says that you're compliant with environmental laws. So if only when the ECC is issued, then the loan becomes effective. If there's no compliance with the relevant environmental laws, then the loan will not be drawn, and the project will not proceed. So that's the safeguard.
In addition, to get an environmental compliance certificate, that requires that a free and informed consent from affected communities is also secured. It's part of it.
Okay. RJ.
We're having more Chinese agreements, right, sir? The president is visiting Beijing next month. Are we expecting more agreements with China?
We're expecting more agreements with China, but not necessarily the same type of agreements we now have with China.
Why?
It depends. Honestly, I don't know what agreements will be signed with China. But what I'm saying is, when you say there would be a loan signing with China, it might relate to a lot of other matters other than a loan agreement. So we have to wait until that happens for us to know
All right, so
what those agreements
from
are.
these issues going on, questioning our contracts with China, so what's the lesson for you, the DOF? What's the takeaway?
Basically, let me, to me, there are 3 takeaways here. So number 1, we must be aware of the commercial terms of all loan agreements and compare it against all our other loan agreements. Number 2, there must be a proper, diversification of loan portfolio. What do we mean by that? So basically, you cannot borrow all your foreign loans from, say, ADB or World Bank. You need to spread it around because you want to make sure that the risk is minimized. And number 3rd point, there should be a proper, proper forum to ask and answer questions, because through such a proper forum, I guess we can allay the concerns raised by some of our critics.
Thank you.
Okay, MPC, no more questions? Okay, Asek Lambino.
Maraming salamat po. At kung may katanungan, ay ang loan agreements ay available sa DOF website. 9 loan agreements that have been signed by this administration. And we're happy to keep the conversation going.
Okay, salamat Asek Lambino. Thank you, Yusek Agabin and Yusek Hoven. Thank you, MPC. Back to my studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.